Hello, MCU fans. Today was going to be a very topical discussion about the question of where does Agent Carter's one-shot fit in relation to her 2 seasons of TV? Is it before season 1? Is it in between season 1 and season 2? Or is it after season 2? I say it's a very topical discussion because, let's face it, most people assume Agent Carter is the TV show, is Sacred Timeline canon. But for some bizarre reason, it is not in the Disney Plus timeline. So, assuming that Marvel does add it there down the road, I sure hope, then the question is, where should it be added in relation to the one shot? Because the one shot is in the Sacred Timeline, but not the TV show. So, I'm going to try to avoid any major spoilers for the series or the one shot. I do have to talk about some general plot lines, obviously, to be able to discuss the timeline, but I'll avoid any major spoilers. So, with that in mind, let's dive right in and see what we can find out. Don't forget, we have the March contest running all month long. Be a subscriber, leave a comment. You might win a book or a steel book. Best of luck. Also, we have the membership option if you want to help me with my goal of doing this full-time one day. You get cool perks like custom emojis, behind-the-scenes videos, etc. But honestly, no matter how you support the channel, it's all greatly appreciated. Leaving comments, liking videos, subscribing, it all goes a long way, so thank you so much. And obviously, anytime I do a video about the timeline, I have to do a shout out for the best wiki on the planet, the Marvel Cinematic Universe wiki. Love it. So much good information on the timeline. And then I did an earlier video, not just on Agent Carter, but also on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Inhumans and how it all fits in the timeline. So you can check that out if you want. But when I did it, both Robbie and Drew were so incredibly helpful. And I used information from that earlier video for this one, so I have to give another shout out. You guys rock. Okay, so let's kind of frame up the timeline here. We know that the Agent Carter one-shot is after Captain America the First Avenger, so when does that movie end? Well, they tell us, right, that the disappearance of Steve Rogers is reported in March of 1945, which you can see in this newspaper headline. Boy, I love those days when Marvel gave us firm dates in the movies. Oh, those were wonderful days. All right, so First Avenger ends in March of 1945. Then the one-shot, which came out before the TV show. In fact, the one-shot was kind of a backdoor pilot for the TV show, but the one-shot is listed as taking place 1 year later. Okay, so that's 1946. Perfect. But if only they told us when in 1946. I mean, that would sure be nice if oh, well, they did. Thank you, Marvel. It's March of 1946. So, yeah, boy, so nice. Please give us dates again, Marvel. That would be wonderful. All right, so keep that in mind, March of 1946 for the one-shot. Then, as we know from the one-shot, Peggy is still working for the SSR and pretty much being treated like crap. The war is over. We'll handle the rough stuff, she's told. Kind of pat, pat, pat on your head. Go sit down. Well, of course, we find out in the one-shot she is very capable of herself, and by the end, Howard Stark invites her to join S.H.I.E.L.D. with him, which he's now forming. Says, tell her she'll be running S.H.I.E.L.D. with me. So, awesome. If you're like me, you assume then that when season 1 of the TV show came out, well, she'd be working for S.H.I.E.L.D. with Howard Stark. I was kind of excited to see the early days of S.H.I.E.L.D. Instead, when season 1, episode 1 came out, she goes right back to her SSR job like nothing ever happened. So bizarre, right? And she's still being treated like crap. Agent Carter, we just caught a red ball out of DC, all hands on deck, meaning cover the phones. Man, so I was scratching my head. I'm like, are they saying the one-shot isn't even canon? Of course, we know it is now because it's in the Sacred Timeline, Disney Plus timeline, and it was in the timeline book. But what's going on then? Why is she not working for S.H.I.E.L.D.? Maybe that means the one-shot is after season 1 or even season 2. I was just so confused. But if you look closely, there are some very clear hints that the one-shot is before season 1. Number 1, Peggy has a flashback, well, to the one-shot, right? She's thinking of some past memories, and in particular, she thinks about kicking that goon through the glass window, which, of course, she did in the one-shot. So, one can't really have a memory of something that hasn't happened yet, so that seems to be that season 1 is saying the one-shot happens beforehand. And remember, that was in March of 1946. Okay, then they give us another big hint. In the one-shot, if you might remember, if you've seen it, but if not, she's very, very sad about losing Steve. She's definitely not still over him, mourning his loss, and not really able to move on with her life. However, in season 1, episode 8 of her TV show, she pours Steve's blood into the river. Now, this is very important. I'm not going to go into where she got the blood or how she got it. That would be a spoiler. But the symbolic nature of her pouring his blood into the river was her saying, I'm going to move on with my life. I have to let go. In fact, she starts dating in season 1 and also in season 2, a bunch of dating. So there's no way, therefore, that the one shot would make any sense happening after this because she, of course, had not got over Steve in the one shot. Okay, they're saying the one shot is first. I get that. But do they explain why she is not working for S.H.I.E.L.D.? Sorta. You kind of have to assume something here, but we're going to see it's confirmed 100% in a minute. So Howard Stark seems to have to delay forming S.H.I.E.L.D. because of this dialogue. Peggy Carter asks him what happened last month, and he says, well, I was in Monaco. When I got back, I found a hole under my vault all the way to the sewer. A couple of weeks later, my bad babies, which are his inventions, they started turning up on the black market, which means the SSR is looking for the wrong guy. So basically, the SSR is chasing after him because they think that he has been selling his inventions illegally. So this tells us a lot of things. The SSR is still in effect. Apparently, S.H.I.E.L.D. is not. And of course, if Howard Stark is on the run, well, then he's not going to be able to form S.H.I.E.L.D. So you can kind of assume from this dialogue that's why she's going back to the SSR because, S.H.I.E.L.D. is off. But I love this. We do finally get confirmation because in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Season 7, Episode 1, we learn that S.H.I.E.L.D. wasn't formed until the 1950s. Because Daisy is saying, why are we talking about 1931? I mean, S.H.I.E.L.D. won't even exist until the 50s. Okay, well, that helps us confirm some stuff, right? Because the one shot was in 1946, and we're going to see that Season 1 is also in 1946 timeframe. S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't even exist till the 50s, like 5 years or more later. Okay, we have our answer. She can't go work for S.H.I.E.L.D. if it doesn't exist yet. I wish they would have made that a little more clear in the series, but I think at least by Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s Season 7 there, they made it very, very clear. Okay, so when is this exactly happening? Well, they do help us out. They tell us that Season 1 is in 1946. So, yeah, again, S.H.I.E.L.D. not going to be around for at least 4 to 5 years, if not more. And then we get this really helpful information. In Season 1, Episode 5, we learn an encoded message tells us April of 1946. So purchase confirmed, exchange 0800, April 27th. And then they say that's less than 2 days from now. So remember, the one shot was in March. This would totally make sense that Season 1 would be in April. That works perfect. And it seems to end around May timeframe because they discuss VE Day happening. What day is it? It's May 8th, and that's in Episode 8. So that means Season 1 of Agent Carter is from April to May of 1946, which would be after the one shot in March of 1946. Okay, great. And then just for the fun of it, let's really quickly look at some of these dates that showed up here to kind of confirm that April really good, or really well, rather. So notice April of 1946 in Season 1. Perfect headline. Love it. Then we do see the risk of them giving newspaper headlines because in the same episode, Season 1, Episode 1, they give us a June date. That's obviously a mistake. The April one is perfect. June, no. So if we throw this one out, then, again, April to May of 1946 for Season 1. Okay, so just for the fun of it, let's jump into Season 2 to put it in the timeline as well. They're very helpful. They tell us right off the bat it's in 1947, so, okay, yay. They talk about it being during the summertime because they're saying it's the hottest day of the year. This is kind of wild. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. helps us out here again because Season 4, Episode 6 shows us a letter that covers something happening in this season. Again, I won't go into great detail because I don't want any spoilers, but they find zero matter, and this letter is something from that time frame, and notice it's in July. Well, that works well with the hot time of the year. Then we also have this newspaper that gives us a July date. If you're like me, there's no way you can read that, so we'll zoom in. Sure enough, July of 1947, so this is all fitting really, really well. Then they're also discussing the fact that the date on the newspaper is tomorrow's date. I won't go into why they have a newspaper with tomorrow's date on it. That's a spoiler for the series. But the point is that in Season 2, Episode 3, there's a newspaper dated in July of 1947. So, therefore, the Agent Carter timeline is pretty simple. We have the one shot in March of 1946. We have the Season 1 in April to May of 1946, and we have Season 2 in July of 1947. So, fingers crossed, notice I'm not saying if, when Agent Carter's TV show is finally put in the sacred timeline. It should be listed after the one shot. Fingers crossed. All right, so I do have the Google Timeline doc. I mentioned this a lot. You can go check it out. I will leave a pinned comment so you can go out there and look at it. Notice it is sorted initially by timeline order because you know I love the timelines, but you can sort it however you want, including by release order. And you can save a temporary view, or you can just download the file and have a copy for yourself. And also, you can filter things. So, for example, if you filter by ABC TV, then you can see Agent Carter Season 1 and 2, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and Inhumans all together there. So, again, I will leave a pinned comment so you can check that out. Don't forget, March contest, right? Be a subscriber, leave a comment, win a book or a steel book. And, of course, we have the membership option if you're interested in that. And then I always like to mention the Discord. We do so much fun stuff on the Discord. Here we're doing a lot of different watches. Here's Comic Club and MMRPG. We have DC retrospectives, getting ready for the new DCU. We have other media forums. I mean, we mainly talk about Star Wars, DC, and Marvel, but as you can see, you can talk about anything you want in the other media forum. And we all know my thumbnails are not that great. So I'm doing a contest when the next Moon Girl video is made, because we thought that would be a fun one from an artistic standpoint. You can design a thumbnail and I will use it in the video. So again, pinned comment to let you get out to join the Discord server. Also, if you don't mind, like this video, subscribe if you haven't already. You can check out more content, and we'll all continue to enjoy the ever-growing, ever-changing Marvel Cinematic Universe.